Okay, so let's have a look at the Immortal Zugzwang game between Samisch and Nimzowitsch. What makes it very interesting is that what makes this position so fantastic and this game so great is that a Zugzwang was obtained in the middle game. This is very rare when you talk about elite chess players. They do not end up in these positions, and it's very rare that it is in the middle game. These positions usually arise in the end game, and for those of you that don't know, Zugzwang specifically refers to a position where, regardless of the moves that you make, you will either lose material or you will end up getting checkmated, or just a position where no matter what you move, you will probably lose the game. So let's have a quick look at this game and let's see how Nimzowitsch went about his position and what are the critical moments that we need to take account of. So the game progressed d4 by Samisch, knight f6, c4, e6. Now, I think it's worth mentioning that many of these positions have been developed theoretically by Nimzowitsch himself. For example, this position, if the knight goes to c3 and the bishop responds to going to b4 is known as the Nimzo Indian. Again, one of the openings that have been named after Nimzowitsch due to his progressive development of chess theory in these type of lines. However, in this case, knight c3 was not played by Samisch and knight f3 was played. So Nimzowitsch decided to go with the alternative b6 in order to fianchetto his bishop. When I say fianchetto, I refer to the bishop going to b7. These are ideas that have also been developed at length between these two players and specifically by Nimzowitsch himself. So Samisch does the same. He decides to fianchetto his light squared bishop to go to g2. Nimzowitsch responds with bishop e7, bishop g2, bishop e7. These are standard Queen's Indian defense development moves, and it gives both white and black an ease of development and an easy way to get their kings safe by getting them castled as soon as possible. So Samisch continues knight c3, castles, all standard development moves, and d5. So d5 is a move aimed at breaking in the center. Specifically, when we talk about the theories that have been developed by Nimzowitsch, there's the controversial and well-known theory that the center needs to be controlled by pawns, and these pawns need to be supported by pieces, and these type of ideas speak directly to these theories. So what seems like a very good move by Samisch, knight e5, puts direct pressure on this d5 pawn. Knight e5 puts additional pressure on the pawn by opening up the diagonal of the bishop. The knight on c3 is already attacking this pawn, and the pawn on c4. So due to the excessive amount of pressure on this d5 pawn, Nimzowitsch decided to safeguard the d5 pawn by providing an additional defender. So Samisch just decides to exchange the pawns and develop his last remaining minor piece. So yeah, a very interesting idea by Nimzowitsch. He decides to safeguard the c4 outpost. By doing this, he aims at putting his knight there and creating a clear path for the b8 knight to go to the c4 square. But first, he aims at safeguarding the outpost. He does this by playing a6, followed by the move b5 in order to safeguard the square even more. So the game continues. Rook c1. White gets some form of control over the open c file. Nimzowitsch continues with b5, queen b3, and knight c6. Now, if you notice, the knight c6 move aims at immediately going to a5 and then going to c4 from there. So everything that Nimzowitsch is doing is talking towards these ideas of getting the knight situated on the c4 outpost. This also does something very interesting. It forces white to think of the exchange. So white can capture on c6, but you must remember one thing, that this is such a favorable exchange for black because this knight has only moved once from b8, where this knight on e5 has moved from g1 to f3 and then to e5. So in other words, this knight has in essence moved twice, and this knight on c6 has only moved once. So if we talk about a favorable exchange, we talk of the exchange that black is exchanging a piece with one tempi for a piece that have moved twice already in the game. So the exchange continues, knight c6, bishop takes c6, very favorable for black, releasing some of the tension in the center with the strong knight on e5. So white continues h3, queen d7, king h2, and knight h5. Bishop d2, f5, queen d1, and b4. So this is exactly the point, because b5 to b4 creates additional space on the queen side, and there's no real good square for the knight on c3, so the knight is forced to move back to its starting position, adding an additional gain of tempos or tempi for black. The bishop repositions to a stronger square. The bishop on b5 is excellent, as it's providing a pin and some pressure on the e2 square. So white decides to get out of the pin and play rook g1. Black continues to improve their pieces, slowly improving the position, adding another pin to the g3 square, which is already under attack by the knight on h5. So yeah, Samisch comes up with a very neat idea. He creates a discovered attack by playing e4. E4 creates tension in the center, but at the same time the pawn on e2 is no longer there, so the queen's diagonal is open and white is all of a sudden attacking the loose knight on h5. So usually you would just have to consider the options of moving this knight to another square, but in this case the knight has no good squares to move to. If the knight does come back to f6, then it falls victim to e5. Instead, Nimzowitsch chooses to sacrifice the knight. And if you go back and you read his comments on his decision to sacrifice this piece, it becomes very clear as to why he just didn't mind giving up a knight for the pawn on e4. So in other words, his outlook was that this knight is less important, and he gets a favorable exchange because he picks up not only the pawn on e4, but he picks up the pawn on f2 as well. This creates very strong activity as you get your rook on the 7th rank. You attack the king on h2. This pin all of a sudden becomes very strong on the g3 square, and you get some strong control over the open f file. So the game continued. Samisch took the knight, and Nimzowitsch got control over the 7th rank and took the f2 pawn. Realizing that some strong defenses will be necessary to hold this position, Samisch plays queen g5, rook af, creating some additional control over the f file, king h1. So you can already see that white is running out of squares and out of strong moves. There is very little that white can do in this position to improve their position. So the moves seem very random and out of knack. You can also notice that this knight on b1 is very badly placed. It's got no safe squares to move to, and the pieces are very uncoordinated at this point. So the effort to consolidate this position is very hard found, as after a couple of moves white is just rendered absolutely defenseless. Rook 8 f5, queen hops back to e3, bishop d3, rook ce1, and this is the position where white runs completely out of moves and is left defenseless. H6 gets played, a very simple move, but also creating abundant control over the g5 square so that you could possibly move the rook to f3 and leave no fair square for the queen. And if you notice, this queen has no good squares to move to. So the last two moves were king h2 and rook 5 f3, which forced the resignation immediately. There's just too much pressure on the g3 square by the bishop on d6. This bishop on g2 is pinned and the queen is under attack. There's just no good moves for white here, leaving Samisch absolutely defenseless, and this move forced a resignation. So if we just go back 2 moves, I urge you guys to pause the position here and really try and find a good move for white, because I've looked at the position for quite a while and it is crazy that there's so many pieces on the board and it's just no good moves. So I urge you guys to have a look at this position in detail. I have copied the game down below in the link, so please feel free to copy it and paste it into ChessSpace and have a look at it during our training.